Big time news in the housing market. Pending home sales are declining nationwide and they're declining here locally in Utah. What's that going to mean for prices? What's that going to mean for inventory? And where is the housing market headed? We're going to cover all of that in today's video. Now, before we do that, make sure you smash that like button. Help me get this video in front of more people. Make sure you subscribe. That way you're notified when new videos drop. And when you do need a realtor anywhere in Utah, remember, Dinko the Realtor has your back. First, I want to dissect the headline here. Pending home sales decline due to housing costs. Okay, that makes sense. California wildfires. Hold on, that's just recent news, and the under contracts have been declining here for about 2 months. The wildfires have nothing to do with it in California. That's just week old news, whereas under contracts have been declining for 2 months. I hate news. This is why I just don't pay attention to any of it. And the politicians, we're going to get to that later on. Don't like any of the politicians either. Don't like these news articles putting clickbait out there due to wildfires. Just nonsense. But I'm going to show you here what is going on. Now, if we take a look at this, and let me remove myself. Look at the inventory here. 9,400 units compared to 7,448. That is almost a 27% increase compared to a year ago. Yet under contracts are down 4.7%, almost 5%. We have 3,265 under contract in January, right now, January 17th, compared to a year ago, 3,427. So that is a decrease of almost 200 units, and this is happening as inventory is going up year over year. But we had that happen last year, inventory going up, and yet prices still rebounded in the spring, and then they did not bottom out as much in that second half of 2024 like they did in the second half of 2023. So what is going on here? Now, I want to show you what happened here in October, and I want to show you what's going on with under contracts. And let me just remove myself here. So if we take a look at this and we take a look at October, at the end of October, we had 11,200 units compared to 9,600 units in 2023 compared to 2024. That inventory growth was happening all of last year, but we did not see the lows that we saw in 2023. So every time spring comes around, home prices rebound, and then in the second half, they go down. However, they rebound every single spring higher than the previous year. We still haven't reached our median high price of 2022 in May. However, the spring prices go up, and then in the second half, they come down. But they don't come down as much as they do the previous year. In 23, prices went up, but not as much as in 2022 because that was the peak. But in the second half, they didn't go down as much as in 2022. And then in 2024, they went up more than they did in the spring of 2023. But not as far down, even though inventory was growing. Now, back to this over here, we see that the inventory difference was 17%, and the key difference was under contracts. 4,000 under contract in October of 2024 compared to 3,498. So we had almost 600 more under contract. And over here, if you take a look, that was 16.3%. Oh, let me remove myself. 16%. So right here, we see 4,000 in October of 2024 under contract versus 3,498, which was 16%. Now I want to show you the graph. If you take a look at this graph, these bottom ones, if you see these, you see this dot in the bottom over here, this blue one, it's showing that under contracts are lower to start the year here in January than they were a year ago. And if we take a look at these lines, we see that we had under contracts in January less in 2024 compared to 2023. But as the year progressed, we saw under contracts picking up, and especially over here towards the end, right here where this yellow line is, this yellow orange line at the bottom, you see that the gap got much bigger. So that gap got bigger between the under contracts, and so it's showing that under contracts were gaining. Hey, even though listings were hitting the market at a faster pace, well, under contracts were also picking up, and we see that that was true. There was a 16% increase here at the end of October. However, when we flip to what's going on now, we have a decrease of negative 4.73%, almost 5%. So inventory is actually growing now at a quicker pace year over year, and inventory should continue going down here. What's happened the last couple of years, it doesn't bottom out until sometime in February, maybe even the beginning part of March, and then inventory starts making its way up. It peaks in September, at the end of September, or sometime in the mid part of October. That's when inventory levels peak. Last year we peaked at almost 11,500. The year previous to that we peaked, I believe it was at 9,500ish, and then in 2022 we peaked at 10,500. But even though we had much more inventory, and we still were not seeing those same price drops that we saw in the second half of 2022. So most likely what's going to happen is we're going to see inventory continue coming down here during these winter months until spring comes around, and prices are probably going to start going back up. The bigger houses are coming to the market, the houses that are nicer, and also the houses are going under contract that have been lingering on the market. I've been seeing this, houses that have been on the market even 100, 120 days have finally started going under contract, especially in the last week. So things are kind of picking up, but we see as a buyer, you're going to have much more to choose from here. Now, if inventory keeps growing, we would need something like unemployment. I've been saying until unemployment goes up, we have forced selling, we're not going to probably have a real estate crash, because if unemployment, people are having jobs, especially with all the stimulus stuff that they are passing. And I'm actually going to see if I can pull this up here real quick, because here it is. So they did it again. They increased or extended for people with FHA loans to apply if they're in trouble. And so this is not a free market. They continue printing this in normal. I mean, look at this money chart. Look how much money they're just printing, and they're not stopping. So until something in the economy breaks, and if we had a really great economy, why would they need to print so much money? They are literally stimulating the economy by the amount of money that they are printing. That's not a strong economy. That's an overinflated economy with the printer that's just never stopping. I mean, this national debt is insane, and nobody's doing anything about it. Trump is not going to do anything about it. Biden didn't do anything about it. This is why I said politicians are in it for themselves. I absolutely just do not like politicians. Biden was continuing to print money. He added $1.8 trillion to the national debt throughout the whole administration, the Biden administration. They kept kicking the national debt ceiling into next year. Both the Republicans, Democrats kept voting on it. And then check this out. They did it again here at the end of December. And now Trump calls for abolishing the debt ceiling. So he wants no debt ceiling. Well, how is he going to bring the national debt down if he doesn't want a debt ceiling? So he wants to spend. I mean, is he going to be able to fire that many, politicians and that many people and government officials and whatnot to cut costs? And who knows? Anyway, that's as much as we're going to get out of politics. Like I said, no administration, no president, nobody is going to do anything for us. We can only follow the numbers. And until something breaks, nobody wants a recession on their watch, no administration. And the thing is elites, politicians, everybody, they don't want to go through that. Nobody likes recessions. Nobody likes unemployment going up. So they're going to try to continue kicking that can as far as they can down the road. Now, this inventory, here we go, back to it, right? Inventory is kind of increasing. And if we take a look at this here, we see that these under contracts are dropping. And then this line, we see that 2025 is the blue line. It is now showing, and this is delayed by a couple of days. This is showing the 15th of January. We're in the 17th, but we see they're crisscrossing, and those under contracts that were going up here in October, they're no longer going up. The under contracts are coming in. Inventory is probably going to be much higher this year unless interest rates severely drop and bring a lot of buyers out. And if the interest rates drop without a recession, but the Fed has said that they're going to do this much slower, and so interest rates are probably going to be 6% maybe sometime in the spring or by the summer months. But right now, as things hold, there's really no intentions of interest rates coming below 7% here in at least the next few months, unless something in the economy is showing that there is a weakening job market, that unemployment's going up, and etc. Now, another thing is more than 1/3 of homeowners say they will never sell. And the reason they don't want to sell is things have gotten so expensive. They don't want to get rid of their mortgage. And people, even that want to downsize, let's say if their house is not paid off, it doesn't even make sense, because if they were to downsize and they take out a loan, let's say they owe $400,000 on a 4,000 square foot house, and they sell that house and then they go and buy a smaller house and their mortgage would be $200,000. Well, the thing is their interest rate would triple essentially. I mean, it would definitely double, and their monthly payment wouldn't really make sense to make that move, because the monthly payment would be about the same. So that's why you're having people saying that in the survey that more than 1/3 of homeowners say that they will never sell unless market conditions improve, unless they're forced, unless interest rates come. And that's what I've been saying. There is a pent-up seller demand, just like there is a pent-up buyer demand. Buyers are waiting on the sidelines. because they, can't afford anything. And when interest rates drop, buyers are going to flood the market. Well, these sellers are also going to start flooding the market. And look at this national debt. This national debt clock just keeps ticking and ticking and ticking. And we're at 36.3 trillion. It just doesn't stop. This chart just keeps blowing up. And if you haven't yet, I'm going to put a link down for my buyer's guide. We had some setbacks. We were redesigning my studio here. My wife got the flu, whatever it was. It was a nightmare. But that buyer's guide is going to be completed next week. So if you want that ultimate buyer's guide, the link is going to be down below in the description. These updates are going to keep coming. We see that inventory is going up. We see under contracts are going down. If we do see something such as a recession, unemployment going up, it's going to signal that prices are going to drop. But right now, what the data is probably going to do is prices are going to start going up here in the spring. That's when the buyer demand is the strongest. Inventory starts continuing to deplete itself, unless that actually flips where inventory all of a sudden does not bottom out in, let's say, March, but it maybe bottoms out at the end of January. And maybe what if inventory starts continuing to go up and we're at 10,000 units come March, which essentially that's not something that we should have until at least the end of summer. So these are things that we have to pay attention to. There's a lot of great deals out there still, a lot of houses that have been on the market because they did not sell during the winter months here, they did not sell during the holidays. There's price drops on them. So if you are in the market here in the near future, let's say in the next 2, 3, 4 months, right now is probably going to be the best time to jump in the market, start negotiating, finding a couple of these homes, sending offers on them, and getting the best price. Come March and April, it's probably going to be competitive. It's probably going to have shorter days on market, and the homes are probably going to be going off quicker, and there's not going to be those houses that have been on the market because I'm seeing them. I'm seeing the ones that have been on, and multiple houses in the same area where they've been on the market for 100, 120 days. All of a sudden, one after another goes under contract. So once that starts kind of going off, days on market is going to start coming down. So right now is a good time if you're in the near future. Of course, if you want to wait, hey, wait until the end of the year. Wait until next year. Whenever you're ready, remember, Dinko the Realtor has your back. My contact information is down below in the description.